The Vivo X200 Ultra just arrived, and that's the phone in the middle. The left phone is the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, and the phone on the right is the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Now, last year when I got access to the Vivo X100 Ultra, I was fascinated because it was the first time I tried the Samsung ISOCELL HP9. It really blew me away. This year is a bit different because the Samsung ISOCELL HP9 is also available in the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. But this year also other things changed. The Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Oppo Find X8 Ultra both have the Sony LIT 900, the 1-inch sensor. But the Vivo took another approach. They're using the Sony LIT 818, which has a smaller sensor size, but they use this camera at a 35mm focal length for 1x, which is really crazy. But other vendors are doing that too, such as Nubia. The default 1x on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and on the Oppo are at 24mm, so you can see it's a bit tough in terms of comparison. The Vivo X200 Ultra also features the ultra-wide with the very same Sony LIT 818 sensor, and it's probably the best ultra-wide camera right now. But the biggest question is, how good is the main wide camera that is using the Sony LIT 818 and not the 1-inch Sony LIT 900? In this video, we are going to look for the answers. And without any doubt, it's going to be a very interesting video. So let's buckle up and let's start with the 4K 60fps video with the back camera that you see right now. Alright guys, now let's start with the stabilization test on all three phones, running here at 4K 60. In the recent years, Android vendors were able to almost catch up with the Apple iPhone's video quality. Specifically, Samsung really is able to deliver stunning video with a stunning stabilization. And now the question is, how good are the best Chinese phones? Because right now, guys, these three phones are the Chinese Ultra phones. And believe it or not, I'm just thinking that the gap is smaller and smaller with every year. All right, one more stabilization test. Let's run towards this tree. And now, guys, let's try to go to the ultra-wide. Ultra-wide on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, ultra-wide here as well on the Vivo, and ultra-wide also on the Xiaomi. Now let's try to test the stabilization on the ultra-wide. Yes, I'm running. And now it's time to turn to the front camera. And guys, only the Vivo X200 Ultra is able to switch directly without stopping the video. Believe it or not, holding the three Chinese Ultra phones is actually heavy. Alright guys, let's start running to test the stabilization with the front cameras. And now let me give you a spin. See what happens here, guys? Sky, sky. And on the Oppo, it seems that there is a problem with the exposure somehow. Okay, this time it's okay. What happens now when I turn myself back? All right, maybe a bit of a sky. Let me know what you think down below, guys, in the comments. And now it's time to explore some photo samples. And at the end of the video, of course, we're gonna go and check the night video and also the night samples. A very important point, guys. Because of the differences in the camera systems and in the focal length, it's really hard to compare those three phones, so I'm gonna use stock settings everywhere. Also, only the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is able to turn off the adaptive telephoto camera during night photos, which means we'll force the 3x to be the 3x and the 4.3 to be really the second camera. On the Vivo and on the Oppo, that's not so easy and possible. Anyway, I'm not going to care so much which camera has been used, but I'm going to just care to kind of align the focal lengths and see really where I'm going to get the best image. Alright guys, here we are. 4K 30 FPS on all the phones. Pay attention, I'm using all the FPS on all the phones, and also specifically for the zoom night photos, guys. It might be that the phone will decide to use the main sensor for the zoom photos instead of the telephoto sensor. This option can be switched off for the Xiaomi, right? The assisted telephoto, but you can't do this so easily on the Oppo and the Vivo. Hence, I decided to use all the stock settings everywhere. So this is me right now, 4K 30 FPS. Car is gonna pass by. We have some lights as well. Let me know where you think is the better front video. And now it's time to turn to the back camera. One of the main superpowers of the Vivo X200 Ultra is the fact that it's using a very capable ultra-wide camera. part with the Sony LIT 818, and we can clearly see how good the image is compared to the ultra wide from the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. But wait, this is going to get even better when we enter scenario without a lot of light. Right guys, now let's start a stabilization test. So I'm running with the ultra wide. Alright. What is the advantage here, guys? The advantage is clearly in the Sony LIT 818 sensor, and this sensor is also used in the main wide camera for the Vivo. Some people might want to say, hey, listen, this is a downgrade because the Xiaomi and the Oppo are using the 1.8 sensor. But from what I've seen in the photos right now, with the stock camera and the stock settings, yeah, the Vivo X200 Ultra is not lagging behind, guys. Alright, and now it's time to show you the other big surprise. Let's go to 1x on the Oppo, 24mm. 1x here on the Vivo, guys, already gets us to 35mm, and 1x on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, guys. So you can see really how close the image is with the Vivo X200 Ultra. And again, the reason is, remember, the 1x camera on the Vivo X200 Ultra uses 35mm focal range. Okay guys, now let me just start running to test the 1x stabilization. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, guys. And now let me start again a running test. And now it's time to check what we can do with a zoom video. Alright, now let's engage a 2x crop on the Oppo. Okay, the next thing I can do is 2.5x crop on the Vivo and a 2x crop on the Xiaomi. Now 3x already on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. Let's do 3x also on the Xiaomi. You can see the Xiaomi and the Oppo clearly are changing the cameras. The Vivo X200 Ultra is already using the telephoto sensor, the ISOCELL HP9X. Now guys, I'm gonna go and do 6x. I'm thinking the Oppo still stays on the 3x. The next thing here is 6.6 from the Vivo and 4.3 on the Xiaomi, guys. So this is the image that we are getting, and we can do 30x on the Oppo. Okay, a 13.4x on the Vivo. You can see it's almost the same. And here, guys, 30x also on the Xiaomi. Now let's go back to the main camera and let's find some more nice objects for test. I'm back on the 1x on all the phones. Alright, and now it's time to do some more zoom testing. Let's do 3x on the Xiaomi, 2.5 on the Vivo, and 3x on the Oppo. Alright, now it's all equalized, guys. Now let's do 6x on the Oppo, 6.7 on the Vivo, and 4.3 on the Xiaomi, guys. Okay, the image from the Oppo is really stable, right? And also on the Xiaomi. Now guys, if I try to match all the images here, I should go and use almost like 9x, even 10x on the Oppo, and something like 10x on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra to kind of match the image. What impresses me really is how stable the footage from the Oppo Find X8 Ultra is. And now ultra wide, and ultra wide, guys. And you can see the ultra wide on the Vivo X200 Ultra really shines. When I have an off light, it's almost comparable, but the moment I turn over to the darkness, we can clearly see how much more light the ultra wide video is from the X200 Ultra. Now let me show you the difference, guys. I'm gonna go and do 1x on the Oppo, a bit brighter, 1x on the Vivo, and 1x on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Alright. And as I'm slowly walking, you can clearly see, right, Vivo X200 Ultra definitely having an edge in these low light scenarios, guys. Let me know what you think down below, and now it's time for me to snap some night photos and see who is the real god of night. Let's start with the ultra wide camera. The Vivo X200 Ultra is going to be in the middle. On the left, the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, and on the right, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Also, we will be able to see the exact camera which is used to take the photo. And how do you know this? based on the focal length, but also on the aperture. So an aperture of 2.0 here, 2.0 here, and 2.2 here indicates that this is indeed the ultra-wide camera, 15mm, 14 and 14mm. Let's start to pixel peep. I'm gonna zoom in a bit and try to analyze some of the details captured. As you can see, guys, we don't even need to zoom in that much to see that the Vivo X200 ultra wide is just better. And I know this because I've taken so many samples. Right, this is a crop 175%. If we crop even further, guys, you can see how the other ultra wide cameras decompose and degrade, and that's the case. This is one of the strongest points for the Vivo. It's using the Sony LIT 818, the same sensor that is also used for the mainline camera. So if you want to get the best ultra wide images, guys, in a phone right now, well, there should be no second questions, no wondering. This is indeed the Vivo. Let's see what happens here. You can see the fabric on the stairs. Something might have happened on the Xiaomi. This doesn't really look all right, and I guess the Xiaomi can do better. But when we have to zoom in here and just check the fabrics, I think it's a clear win for the Vivo X200 Ultra. This is here the mainline camera from the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, 23mm and an aperture of 1.8 and 1.63 for the Xiaomi 15. So we are using here Sony LIT 900. This is a 1-inch sensor. Here we have a 1-inch sensor and a slightly smaller sensor here on the Vivo X200 Ultra. And now the question is, well, will this be actually a downside? This is why I'm doing this comparison, but by this time you probably watched many other comparisons and you know that even with a smaller sensor size, the Vivo is still holding up. And it's, by the way, not that small, but it's not a 1-inch sensor. In this particular shot though, I do believe that the Oppo did the best because we have a bit of an overexposing here, but I would think here that this is just because of the angle. So maybe here you can see the sun is piercing directly through the lens. So it's not 100% comparable. Overall, I do believe a good shot on all the phones. And if we have to try to analyze some of the details, guys, we can see that almost all of them are on par. But the main point here is for me to set the scene and give you a full perspective on what is 1X on the Oppo, what is 1X on the Vivo, and also on the Xiaomi. Another shot with the main wide camera. Everything here, guys, is moving. Yeah, this is not an issue with the Chinese phones and the Chinese Ultra. If we have to analyze, everything is perfectly stopped in time. Now let's see what happens here in the details, because again, we have here a 35mm shot, so I have to zoom up a bit the others from the Xiaomi and the Oppo to try to match. And what I can tell you guys is, yeah, the Oppo Find X8 Ultra is slightly a tiny bit better than the photo. On the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the Xiaomi processed with a lot of contrast here, which I don't really like. It's not a big thing. You can probably fix this in post when you shoot, let's say, in RAW. But overall, guys, this thing here is better than this. But the Vivo X200 Ultra absolutely nailed it. And the more I start to zoom in, I guess this is absolutely obvious. I almost have a feeling that this is a lower quality. And all of them, I think, are like 12 megapixel. Anyway, this is 13 megabytes. This is only 6, but you can see how clear the whole image is. And if we analyze also the second boy, you can see the focus didn't land here. But we have a great focus on the Vivo X200 Ultra. And something that really blew my mind, I can just see all the scratches are so detailed, right? Also the lines here. And if we have to further pixel peep, guys, you can see the tiny little details and the separation between all the different materials. Yeah, and the Xiaomi is already losing here on quality. And another shot with the main wide camera. Now, guys, I'm using here the Leica Vibrant. This here is also Zeiss Vibrant, so I'm trying to use like this Vibrant mode on all the phones that I can. I'm not saying that this is the best mode, but I just want to kind of like even out. Something that I don't really like about the Vivo X200 Ultra shot here is the saturation. It's just too saturated and everything really weird, a bit too much for my taste. And also, guys, because I guess of the saturation and the white balance, the sky is a bit softer on the blue. The Oppo, I guess, a bit better, and the Xiaomi. But what happens when we start to zoom in and try to equalize the details again, guys? I'm just trying to bring like crop from the 23mm from the Oppo and the Xiaomi to kind of match the 35mm here on the Vivo. And what we can see, I think it's quite obvious, right? Here we have this softness. It's very sharp, on the Vivo X200 Ultra, but it's not really over sharpened. It doesn't really look that digital. And if I have to further zoom in, it's absolutely crazy, guys. I can almost read what is written inside, something that is not so possible here on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, and it's a bit better on the Xiaomi, but you can see the level of the detail is absolutely crazy. We have also some smudginess here on the texture of the wood, and as well on also on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, but clearly you can see this so much clearly on the Vivo X200 Ultra. Yeah, what can I tell you guys? A really great photo from all of the three phones. Perhaps the Vivo would have taken the crown here. Just, I don't really like that greenish tint of the sky and the overall oversaturation of the photo, but everything else is just absolutely stunning. And yeah, you can see the Xiaomi here, like you can almost not recognize that this is wood, and the lines are not so straight. The Oppo tiny bit better, but I guess the Vivo is just looking so great and almost 300% crop. Now let's engage with the zoom cameras. We do have 3x and 6x on the Oppo. We only have like one zoom camera on the Vivo, and it's the mighty ISOcell HP9X, and we do have the same, by the way, on the Xiaomi, but it starts from 4x, and this thing here is using the 3x at 70mm. So guys, let's see what happens here. Let's try to zoom in directly and analyze. You can really see with the 3x from the Oppo, it's just good, but the Vivo brings out so much more, I would say, and the things here that are not so well exposed, you can clearly see them, and probably even try to read them on the shots from the Vivo. In this particular scenario, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra 3x just tiny bit worse than the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, guys, but the Vivo X200 Ultra doesn't really disappoint. And those phones, guys, don't get me wrong, all of those phones, the Ultra phones, they're just the best camera phones right now on the market. So I barely think that there is anything that can really beat those phones, right? Like they can only compete against each other, and this is why you have to really pixel peep to try to identify some things that might not be so good, and the things that you think are not so good very often, at least in my case, can be just very subjective. So it's totally okay for you not to agree with what I think, because they're so good, and sometimes it's really close, like in this case, right? But the moment we start to zoom in, we can just see, yeah, some things are just processed in a different way compared to the way, let's say, the Oppo or the Vivo or the Xiaomi. And in this particular case, I'm just thinking, yeah, the Vivo, and then the Oppo, and then the Xiaomi. In this shot, I'm trying to use the second 6x telephoto camera from the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and the 4.3x on the Xiaomi. And then again, the next thing that is close on the Vivo, and the Vivo is using the ISOcell HP9X. So let's start to zoom in. There is probably a bit of a motion blur in all of the shots. Honestly, guys, it's very hard when you're shooting at a pigeon, because, you know, like, yeah, they really don't obey, so they start to move around. And another photo, but you can see it's very hard to try to capture them. So there is a bit of a motion blur here on the Vivo, but yeah, what can you do? Like, this thing moves around. Honestly, guys, I think quite comparable in this particular scenario. And yeah, again, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra took the best shot, but because just the pigeon wanted to show more of itself. Let's go back on the ultra wide camera. 14mm on the Xiaomi, 14mm on the Vivo, and 15mm on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, guys. In broad daylight, you'd probably think that they're about the same. And in this particular shot, I'm not even able to say that the Vivo X200 ultra wide photo is really so much better. But it is, because the moment you start to zoom in, you're gonna realize that the tree behind the boy is a bit artificial on the Oppo and on the Xiaomi. Here, the face and also everything that is written on the sweatshirt and also the fabric is not so good on the Xiaomi. Probably a tiny bit better on the Oppo, but with 500% crop, I think the Vivo X200 Ultra really is better. And again, you need to really pixel peep to compare, and most probably this ultra wide is gonna shine when the light is gonna be low. This is a shot from the main cameras. 1x here 23mm, 1x here 35mm obviously, and 1x here on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Let's try to even out the crop so that we can compare. Honestly, all of them did okay. But the moment we start to zoom in, we can see that the Vivo X200 Ultra really looks the best. Also with that tree, you can see the tree detail is absolutely insane. If we have to analyze the detail of the tree, you can see how great it looks here on the Vivo X200 Ultra. Also with that separation from the forest on the background or the greenery. It's really, really good, guys. But without pixel peeping, all of those shots are really great. Again, you really need to go deep to be able to analyze. Like, just take a look at the fabric of the jeans, right? Like, we can clearly see this is jeans here as well. But the Vivo X200 Ultra just looks so better. The whole fabric really more natural and more authentic. What can I tell you, guys? This shot goes here to the Vivo X200 Ultra. Now we're engaging with the zoom camera 70mm for the Oppo Find X8 Ultra with an aperture of 2.1. Again, here, guys, we are directly going to 85mm, the ISO 2.3f, and here 1.8. We're using the 3x from the Xiaomi, guys. What happens here? Again, the shot from the Vivo was able to retain these craziest tiny details of the fabric with the light hitting the fabric is absolutely insane. What happens on the face, guys? Overall, very good. So I'm just thinking here, the Oppo Find X8 Ultra is still, according to me, a bit better than what we see on the Xiaomi. But overall, the Vivo X200 Ultra shot just shines. And then again, to be able to spot those details, you need to really zoom in like crazy. What about the details of a tree? Not so bad here, not so bad also on the Xiaomi, but very clear on the Vivo X200 Ultra. This is the next available portrait. I think we're using the second telephoto camera from the Oppo, the 6X, with an aperture of 3.1. Again, we are still on the ISO here and here, I guess, as well. In this particular photo, the Xiaomi decided to use a weird color for the sweatshirt of a boy. A bit better on the Oppo, but the overall shot still will go to the Vivo X200 Ultra. Let's analyze the details of the face. Check this here, guys, very processed. It looks a bit more soft and natural on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. Probably also not that bad on the Xiaomi, but everything else is just better on the Vivo. And again, I'm not saying it's 100% better, guys. This is very, very subjective, right? But the overall image here from the Vivo X200 Ultra is just a bit better. And we can clearly see this in areas like this when we have the light playing with the shadows and with the fabric. I mean, fabric is very hard to photograph, guys. Like, a lot of the phones and the processing are not so good when you have to photograph fabric. In this case, I think this can be clearly seen, you know, that the Vivo X200 Ultra is just so crazy good in areas like this. Another portrait example, 70mm, 85-70. And here, guys, I think those are bit more comparable. The Oppo did very good here with the fabric. The Xiaomi, I think, as well. Let's try to analyze the face. Now, those portrait shots, I do believe, are very, very comparable. So I cannot really say that, hey, the Vivo is so much better than the others. Again, it's just by some very, very tiny margins. And another zoom portrait here, guys. Take a look. Really so good on all three phones. Honestly, you have to really crop a lot to be able to identify some problems. And I even don't want to call them problems. It's more just like processing. The face on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra is a bit too soft. The Vivo got it very good, and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra got it also very good. What I don't like though on the Vivo is what it did here with the eyes and the skin tone in this area is a bit more processed. So honestly, the Oppo and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra did a bit better in this regard, but the overall image is very, very comparable on all three phones. So more portrait shots, 47mm, 50mm, 46mm. What can I tell you, guys? Those are one of the best camera phones right now on the market. And again, I'm just using only stock settings, but you can go and shoot RAW, you can mod the phones. All right, with the Xiaomi probably a bit easier than the Vivo and the Oppo. You can use Google Camera, so you can just take this to the extreme. This is just damn stock, and you can clearly see fantastic job from all three phones. And the skin tone in this photo looks great. The Oppo did a blur very good, not so much here on the Xiaomi. Right, so it's just so crazy how good phones are right now, and the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and the Vivo and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra are just really one of the best camera phones right now on the market that you can buy with money. And another example here, guys, you can clearly see, like, this is absolutely insane. Like, I was not able to think that this is possible like years ago. We have shots that really feel like shot with a proper camera. I don't want to say DSLR camera, I don't really care what kind of camera, but it really looks like a proper photo that you can go and put on a paper and just stick it on your wall. Absolutely crazy. Like, I don't really have anything to say. The skin tone on all this is just so good. Maybe the face on the Find X8 Ultra is a bit softer versus the others. And maybe the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is trying to brighten up the face a bit, but who cares? All these three pictures are just so good. And now a dual portrait photo, 47mm, 50 and 53mm, guys. You can check the hair strains here, here and here with this beautiful, beautiful bokeh that is applied on the background. I don't really have anything to say, guys. So like this three phones right now, absolutely killing it. If you can do this with the stock camera, just imagine what you can do with Google camera and proper configs, and also with RAW. This is going to get really, really crazy. I'm just thinking this is right now peak smartphone photography, guys. And some more portrait samples, 47mm, 50mm, 46mm, and you can see that this almost looks like shot from one and the same phone. Of course, there's gonna be some differences, but it's absolutely insane. In this particular case, I think Xiaomi Ultra just did the best because, again, just take a look at the fabric, like the highlights and the shadows on a white fabric, absolutely hard to be captured with a phone, but the Xiaomi somehow was able to do and deliver this fantastic shot, guys. We have here all the hair strains on the Vivo and also on the Oppo. What can I tell you, right? Like, I'm almost speechless, guys. It's very hard to say which one is better because all of them are so crazy good. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And another portrait shot, and take a look at what the Vivo did here, guys, and the Oppo. This is absolutely stunning, guys. Like, to be able to just capture these individual hair strains and to separate the object from the background with this bokeh is absolutely stunning, and the Xiaomi did that as well. Of course, there might be some issues with the processing because, again, it's a portrait mode, right? So if you can see, sometimes it doesn't really work that great. The Oppo did a fantastic job, as well as the Vivo, but overall the three phones were able to capture a fantastic image with the sun illuminating the face and the shadow and the highlights here. So I'm absolutely amazed by the quality of these photos. And this one here is with the highest portrait, 135, 135, 100. So you can see sometimes the Xiaomi 15 Ultra tries to brighten up the face a bit, but in this particular scenario, this is not so much. And the Oppo Find X8 Ultra just softens somehow the faces. The Vivo, I think, is just spot on, but again, all three of them are just good. Now let's check some zoom photos. This thing here is 224mm, 347 versus 333. Again, it's very hard to sometimes just align those things because 1x starts from 35mm on the Vivo X200 Ultra. Now we are at almost 700mm on the Oppo and the Xiaomi, and 1000mm on the Vivo. Now I'm pushing the zoom even more, and what I can say is that the Xiaomi 15 Ultra somehow was able to retain this natural look from the stone and everything. So yeah, here on the Vivo we are almost at 2000, so I think that's quite okay. 2000 is just a lot, and this is the highest amount of zoom I was able to achieve, almost 2700 on the Oppo, 2800 on the Xiaomi, and almost 2500 on the Vivo, guys. And still somehow I'm just thinking, yeah, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is just like stealing those shots with the highest amount of zoom. Let me know what you think down below. It's time to go back to the main wide camera. So we have 23mm on the Oppo and the Xiaomi and 35mm on the Vivo. In order for me to be able to find some things that I don't really like, I have to probably zoom out like crazy. And if I do so at about like almost 200% crop, yeah, the Vivo X200 Ultra is just really so sharp. And you can check the details here, right, guys? Like, take a look here, right here. And here, so the Vivo X200 Ultra, very good here. Second, I do believe, is the Xiaomi, and if I really have to zoom out, I would say that perhaps the Oppo went on the third place, because see here, was not able to give me all the details, but the shot from the Vivo X200 Ultra is just amazing, and clearly this can be seen also here, like a bit of a muffled on the Oppo. Okay, not that bad on the Xiaomi, but definitely very good looking on the Vivo X200 Ultra. You can also see this here, like if I have to go crazy really and zoom up like this, all right, this is almost 500%, guys. This is good, this is not so good, and this is at the third place. Now let's check the 3x camera, guys. 2.1 aperture, 3x on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. 1.8, the 3x is brighter on the Xiaomi, and on the Vivo X200 Ultra we're already using the ISL HP9X with an aperture of 2.3, guys. So let's see what happens here. Those shots, those exact three shots, I do believe are very, very similar. Now, of course, there's going to be a difference exactly where the focus landed, but overall, I do believe that all phones in this particular photos were able to give a very, very good image. Now, this time the Oppo was able to represent everything. And then again, if we still have to name the best picture. So I'm just thinking first place here with the Vivo. Just take a look at the scene. Second place with the Oppo, and this time third place here with the Xiaomi. And now let's check the second telephoto camera, 6x on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and the 4.3x on the Xiaomi. Here again, we are still on the ISOCELL HP9X. And although all of them are so similar, I'll just give the first place here again to the Vivo because it was able to just capture these nitty-gritty tiny details. Second place, I'm just thinking the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, and the third place would go to the Xiaomi. And I mean, again, we need to really pixel people like crazy to spot these differences, but if I am to zoom in, then you can clearly see what happens on all these three phones. 10x on the Oppo and the Xiaomi is something like 224, 233. 10x on the Vivo is 341, guys. And in this particular shot, you can see like they're all not great, but I think Xiaomi 15 Ultra was able to just steal this shot. A bit of a motion blur here and something really not so great on the Vivo. This is an interesting shot where I decided to use the telephoto camera macro. I'm not great at macro photos, but in this particular case, I'm just thinking, yeah, the Find X8 Ultra really shines in this shot. Now let's go back on the main cameras. A lot of people were saying, hey, you know, the Vivo X200 Ultra, they lost the one in Shenzhen and it's not so good and maybe the bokeh is not going to be great. I had to really struggle with the Oppo to even produce this shot because I cannot really focus with the main camera so close, but take a look at this stunning shot with the main wide camera from the Vivo. That is absolutely insane. All the leaves here spot on, a very good and beautiful bokeh at the background. Xiaomi 15 Ultra also not bad, and I had a problem to focus that with the Oppo. Again, this is just with the main sensor without using telemacro and etc. Another shot with the main cameras from all three phones. Bit of a softness on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, not so much on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and really spot on from the Vivo X200 Ultra. So it's going to be very hard to just pick one because all these three photos are just so good. Some more zoom photos that I wanted to try out, and this time the Vivo X200 Ultra wasn't really able to land that shot. And again, we have this sky here that sometimes turns out like this, and I'm not really very fond of it. The Oppo Find X8 Ultra somehow was able to steal this shot. You can see really how everything is so clear. Right, and let me just try to zoom in out a bit. Okay, this is it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But in this particular shot, I do believe that the Oppo or the Xiaomi, guys, because see here, the Xiaomi also landed a very good shot. Bit of a muffled shot here on the Vivo. And sadly, it doesn't really get better for the Vivo when I'm trying to engage with a higher zoom. But we are almost here at 1000 mil versus 700 and 670. So yeah, with this camera setup, guys, it's not that easy to compare on the photographs. This here is at the maximum. I can see it's not really usable from all the phones, but somehow the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, I think, is able to give that extra shot with the highest amount of zoom. And now let's start to take out the light in the equation. So I have some shots shot inside. This again is using the main camera on the Oppo and the Xiaomi and the main on the Vivo, so that you can really see like the difference between 23 mil and 35 mil. Alright, if we have to zoom in and equalize, guys, I think all of them just very good. This is the same area, but with the ultra wide 15 mil on the Oppo and 14 mil on the Vivo and the Xiaomi. When there is enough light, I'm just thinking, yeah, all of them are still able to produce a good quality. But here we can see the Oppo Find X8 Ultra had a problem with exposing properly what is written here. Better on the Vivo X200 Ultra and also better on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Another shot with the main cameras. Let's try to see how much we can read from all that we have here, guys. Honestly, I think it's kind of comparable and all the lines are straight and in general like a very similar shot. This one is interesting because I used the main wide camera on the Oppo and the Xiaomi, and I had to go back to the ultra wide from the Vivo. You can see the aperture is 2.0 to align it to 23 mils, guys, to just get the same shot. And it's still not the same, but you can see my point, right? If you want to use a focal length that is lower than 35 mil, you can always go to the ultra wide, and the ultra wide from the Vivo X200 Ultra is so good. You can use it really as a main camera, like really it's a proper camera. And now some zoom shots inside just to see how those phones are handling light inside. Honestly, yeah, quite good from all three phones. Portrait photo inside. Honestly, guys, everything here looking really great. And even the zoom photos inside are turning out quite okay on all three phones. And now it's time to take the light out of the equation and directly start with the night photos. And I'm starting here with the ultra wide 15mm on the Oppo, 14mm on the Vivo X200 Ultra, and 14mm on the Xiaomi. By the way, the aperture on the Vivo X200 Ultra is 2.0, the same as the ultrawide on the Oppo, and the Xiaomi aperture just a bit tinier, 2.2. All right, now let's start to zoom in, guys. I guess the ultrawide in the Vivo X200 Ultra, guys, is just on a whole other level. So if you want to get rock solid ultra wide camera, but not only in day photos but also in low light, specifically in low light, I think this goes without saying. At 200% crop you can see the differences. I would say the Oppo Find X8 ultra wide is just a tiny bit better than the Xiaomi, but overall I think no competition for the Vivo X200 Ultra. And this is so visible, guys, you don't even need to pixel peep just to try to see the obvious thing here. And another ultra wide shot. The more the light goes out, the better the Vivo X200 ultra wide camera is, guys. Just take a look at the sky here and the tree. It's really so bad on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and specifically on the Xiaomi. So I'm just taking the Oppo Find X8 Ultra just a tiny bit better, but overall, guys, it is no match to the ultra wide from the Vivo X200 Ultra. Just take a look at this area, completely non-existing here, here as well. But honestly, Vivo X200 ultra wide seals the show. And take a look at the sky rendition and also the tree. So this is the best ultra wide camera from the Chinese ultra smartphones, and probably the best ultra wide camera in a phone right now on the market. And because it's so good, another ultra wide shot. And remember, the more the light goes out, the better the Vivo X100 ultra wide camera is compared to the Find X Ultra and the 15 Ultra from Oppo and Xiaomi. Just take a look what happens here. So smudged on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra and a disaster on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and it isn't so great even on the Vivo X100 Ultra when you're at like 500% crop, but when you zoom out like the complete picture, so much better on the Vivo X200 Ultra. So then again, this is by far the best ultra wide camera in a phone right now. But now let's go to the main cameras and check the most important question. What happens in low light, guys? Because remember, the Vivo X200 Ultra is using a smaller sensor, Sony LIT818 versus the 1-inch from the Oppo and the 1-inch from the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. But this one here is a bit newer, and Vimo claims that it should not really be worse than the 1-inch sensor. So guys, now let's try to also equalize, because remember, the Vivo X200 Ultra starts from 35mm, so in order for me to be completely sure, I need to somehow match the focal length. And honestly, guys, I'm just thinking, yeah, the Vivo X200 Ultra 1x at night is better in this shot, right? And we can see this, right? The more I zoom in at almost like 200% crop, I think this is obvious. Just look at the structure here and the materials and the light, specifically the lights here, and this pink stuff on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. So the gap between the ultra wide from the Oppo and the Xiaomi isn't as much as on with the ultra wide, but still this new Sony LIT818 camera inside the Vivo X200 Ultra is able to surprise us in the night photos. And another shot from the main camera, the Xiaomi has the brightest lens with an aperture of 1.63 versus 1.69 on the Vivo X100 Ultra and 1.8 aperture on the Oppo. Alright guys, how does this translate in terms of photo quality? I've zoomed in on the pictures to try to equalize, and what can I tell you guys? I still believe that the Vivo X100 Ultra is just a tiny bit better. Just see what happens here on the background, like the exposure of light here and the control of the shadows, and in overall, guys, it is perhaps a better picture. Now again, the gap isn't so drastic, right? But it's there, because look at this thing here, right? I would say a bit better on the Xiaomi and not so great on the Oppo. And if we start to even further pixel peep, guys, the more we do this, the more you're gonna see how the Vivo X100 Ultra just stealing those shots. Now let's check the zoom cameras. I was able to engage with the 3x on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, the isotel here. 2.65 on the Vivo, and when I wanted to do a 70mm from the Xiaomi, guys, yeah, it was using still the main sensor, because remember, to equalize all the processing and equalize the stock options, I have turned on this telephoto adaptive camera, so now the phone decides which lenses to use. But what can I tell you guys, even with this, so imagine this thing here is a 70mm like 3x crop from the main camera, this thing here is an 85mm from the Isotel HP9, and this thing here is a proper 3x from the Oppo, an optical one. And I think it's kind of obvious, right? Like, yes, the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, I guess, is still better than the Xiaomi, which is crazy because the Oppo is using here the 3x camera and the Xiaomi is using the primary camera, but still I think the Vivo is just stealing the show. You can't even read what is written here, mega whatever, but it's almost impossible here, and also on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And now for your viewing pleasure, another shot from the ultra wide cameras, and you can see what the Vivo X200 Ultra is doing. It is just no competition for the Oppo Find X8 Ultra, and also the Xiaomi. Like, look at this, Xiaomi was completely not able to process the highlights here. The Vivo wasn't that great with the shadows, but overall I think still better than the Xiaomi. But the best image here on the ultra wide for sure goes to the Vivo X200 Ultra. And because I really wanted to compare optical zoom, the optical zoom and the cameras to cameras, guys, this is now a proper 3x 70mm initiated by the Xiaomi. By the way, the Xiaomi 3x uses the brighter aperture 1.8 versus the 3x from the Oppo, where we have 2.1, and guys, 2.27 here, but already using the Isotel. So this is going to be an interesting comparison. And I do believe that in this scenario, all three phones did really great. Now, if I am just to leave the picture at this, I'll probably say, yeah, it's about the same. Somehow we have a yellowish tint on the Vivo and even more yellowish tint on the Oppo, guys. The Xiaomi tries to influence the white balance so much, and I've been there, this or this is the more realistic picture, because a lot of the lights on the street is just yellow, but the Xiaomi doesn't like this and it adjusts this, which I think is not a problem because you can correct white balance in post. And now at about 150% crop, when we start to just compare the nitty-gritty details, we can still see that apparently the Vivo X200 Ultra, yeah, has an edge. Because see here, guys, I'm completely able to read this thing here, which is working time, which is not possible here, and also on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. But overall, I think a very comparative 3x shot from all phones. And this is a 6x shot where I was able to do so. I'm using the 100mm 4.3 camera on the Xiaomi, already engaging with the HP9. The aperture here is 2.6. We are using 170mm on the Vivo. The aperture 2.27. This is already the Isotel here as well. And the 6x dedicated optical camera, guys, on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra with an aperture of 3.1. So this is here the darker aperture. And at about 120% crop is where things getting interesting, because now the Vivo X200 Ultra as well as the Xiaomi are both using the Samsung Isotel HP9. I do believe in the Vivo we have the HP9X, which is even a better version. But honestly, guys, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra not that bad. Still, it's a bit too soft probably, so the Vivo X200 Ultra, I guess, will still take the win with better exposure overall. But the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is very, very close, and yeah, sadly the Oppo wasn't so able to handle all these details, but overall not a bad attempt. And now back to the 3x on the Oppo with an aperture of 2.1 and 3x on the Xiaomi with the brighter aperture of f1.8, and of course here in the middle the Vivo is using Isotel HP9. And what can I tell you, guys? I had to do this shot multiple times. I wasn't really able to focus this so much on the Oppo, but also not on the Vivo, and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra completely just stalled this shot. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, but by far this thing here absolutely nailed it. Are you able to do this with the Vivo? Maybe you are, but I was not really able to focus so much by using the 3x dedicated camera with the Oppo. Nevertheless, you're seeing this sample here. And to make my point, I'm sharing another 3x sample like here with the Xiaomi. Still problematic, but I was able to get a focus, not so much possible with the Vivo at the distance I was, and also with the Oppo. And another 3x shot from the Oppo with the 2.1 and the Xiaomi with 1.8, and 2.65 on the Vivo. And honestly guys, they are really very comparable. The way all the phones handle the lights here, so the highlights and the shadows are quite nice. And if we have to pixel peep, yes, sometimes the Oppo is struggling to just nail this down, as well as the Xiaomi, and of course the Vivo delivers just an outstanding image. Let's check the greenery. I do believe it's very, very comparable. This is the 6x shot from the Oppo using an aperture of 3.1, the 4.3 shot on the Xiaomi, and I do believe the equalized shot also on the Vivo. The Vivo and the Xiaomi are using both isocell, and as you can see guys, yeah, very, very comparable. Another shot with the ultra wide, and when there is enough light, the Oppo and the Xiaomi, I guess, will be able somehow, or at least will try to catch up guys. But you can see still the Vivo X200 Ultra is just taking the crown. Like, just take a look here, the sky, the clouds, and also the tree. Here, not so good, and a bit better on the Oppo, but still the Vivo X200 Ultra just delivers a better image with the ultra wide camera. And a selfie shot for fun, where I believe the Xiaomi 15 Ultra was able to deliver the best shot, not so great on the Vivo and on the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. And another shot from the ultra-wide camera, just to show us how superior the ultra-wide photo camera from the Vivo X200 Ultra is. But this time the Xiaomi 15 Ultra was able to hold up, and sadly the Oppo wasn't able to land the focus. A shot from the main camera to just go back to the basics guys. Now let's try to see what happens here. Honestly guys, the main cameras from all these three phones are fantastic. Most probably the Vivo X200 Ultra will have the edge over the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Oppo, but this is not always the case, and this also depends on the scenario. Because see here guys, at almost 200% crop, right, we can probably see that still the Vivo X200 Ultra is giving a sharper, better image, right? But you have to go and really zoom and crop like crazy. The overall outlook from the image is just great on all three phones. So of course there's gonna be some nitty-gritty details, but they're gonna be very, very minor when it comes down to the main camera. But with that said, take a look here at the tree. Not so great on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and also not the best on the Oppo. So I do believe that even with the smaller sensor, the Vivo X200 Ultra will deliver better outputs in most of the times guys. Another 3x 70mm with an aperture of 2.1 on the Oppo and aperture of 1.8 on the Xiaomi guys, and you can see it is really equalized. So in order for you or me to capture the details, we have to just go deep and try to pixel peep, which is not a fun thing to do. So the thing is guys, whatever phone you buy, is it the Oppo Find X8 Ultra or the Vivo or the Xiaomi, you are gonna to get one of the best camera experiences stock, right? Remember, you can use Google Camera with custom configurations, you can use RAW, and then in post-production, you know, edit the exposure, the highlights, the shadows, the white balance and whatnot. This thing here that you see is only stock guys, so whatever you get, the Oppo, the Vivo or the Xiaomi, you are going to get one of the best cameras in a phone right now. And this is the last shot using 6x on the Oppo, but remember, this thing here is a crop from the 3x camera, right? On the Vivo we have the isocell HP9, as well on the Xiaomi we can tell by the aperture 2.27 and 2.26 here. And you can just see guys, right, like if you really want the phone to do these things for you, well, then you can go and buy the Vivo or let's say the Oppo. On the Xiaomi you can switch this off, it's not so problematic. On the Oppo you can use the master mode, and there are also options on the Vivo. So the main takeaway here is that if you want to really get a phone with the best ultra wide camera right now on the market, and with a very good, capable, superior main camera, but that starts from 35mm, then the Vivo X200 Ultra is really the best that you can do. If you want to get the best zoom camera and like the best overall camera for everything else, I guess it's gonna be either the Xiaomi or the Oppo Find X8 Ultra guys. And if you want to get this from a global market, then you only have the options with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, because the Oppo Find X8 Ultra sadly only a China phone right now. But you see what I mean, right? Like you cannot really go wrong with the Oppo, with the Vivo or with the Xiaomi. And the way I'm gonna rank it, probably Vivo X200 Ultra, like the best photos. Then guys, I'm gonna rank the Oppo Find X8 Ultra at the second place, just because of the crazy portraits that it does. And sometimes I have some issues with the photos from the Xiaomi. You have to manually focus and stuff like this. I'm not saying that it's worse than the Oppo, but probably just the Oppo Find X8 Ultra was able to be a tiny bit better in my other comparisons. Overall guys, the gaps here are so minor, between all these cameras. The only very big gap that I noticed is between the ultra wide from the Vivo X200 Ultra and the ultra wides from the Oppo and the Xiaomi. Everything else is almost equalized, guys. So in order to find any really small discrepancies, we need to go crazy and engage with crops like 200-300% and do pixel peep. But I would love to hear your comments down below in the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe. VST over and bye.